Okay, so we're here having our next conversation, our next COVID conversation. That would have been another cool name for the show. Not really, actually. With Harriet. Harriet's our social media strategist, works with a lot of our clients on organic content and how to get the most out of their social presence and their social channels. Harriet, just to kick things off, can you give us a bit of an elevator pitch, like a 30-second or a 1 or a 2 minute on what you've done in your career to date, just so people that are watching can get, or listening can get a little bit of an understanding as to what your sort of specialties are?
Yeah, sure. So I actually did my study over in New Zealand. Go the ABs. So I actually study graphic design, and that's where I guess my background is. And I guess I just sort of found it wasn't quite challenging me enough, and that's no disrespect to
don't let the designers hear.
No disrespect to graphic designers, but I just felt like digital marketing was more sort of the direction that I wanted to go. And so I guess it took a few different channels that has led me to where I am today, which is social media. So I guess social media is a very fast moving beast. And I think I'm still learning as I go, definitely, but talk has definitely provided me with the opportunity to develop those skill sets, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So you're a designer first, and then you went into social.
Yeah.
Do you feel like being a designer before you were, because like you're pretty, like your copywriting is pretty sharp as a tack, which is pretty rare to be a writer and a designer. Do you feel like being a designer first helped you to go into copy, or and content in general, or not so much?
Yeah, definitely. I think, we all learn in different ways. Some of us are visual learners, some of us are verbal. And I think being able to understand an audience in both a visual sense, if you like, in terms of how they engage with imagery and print media, that sort of allowed me, I guess, to understand a tone, a voice, a way to communicate with people through copywriting and ultimately through social media.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And have you seen much change recently, obviously with COVID-19 locking down big chunks of pretty much the whole world? Have you seen much change online in social specifically? Like, have you seen big changes in the way things are being done by businesses or results? And I guess probably, a different way to frame that question would be, what is it important to be doing social during a time when people are locked down, that sort of crazy concept, and B, during an economic, like a pretty significant economic downturn?
Yeah, definitely. I think it goes without saying that while more people are forced to be at home at this time, people have more time on their hands to be scrolling through social media, and I guess it's sort of looking for that interaction, which, yes, perhaps is filling a void of not being able to have social, like one-to-one, face-to-face communication with friends and family. But I think more and more people are jumping online to have a look at, what's going on in the world. And I think also possibly looking for elements of positivity. And I think that's where businesses can really use this time to actually almost put a different spin on it. And yes, it is obviously a horrible thing that's going on in the world, but how can you actually turn that into a positive? And perhaps that's through producing motivational content, or perhaps it's sharing online videos. I know a lot of the gyms at the moment are doing training online, and I think that's really it's keeping the brand engaged with their audience and hopefully providing a bit of encouragement and positivity during this time.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where you see so much. The press is so negative about everything.
Definitely.
If it's not their health ramifications, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay those, they're massive.
Yeah.
But if it's not the health ramifications, it's the economic ramifications. And when you see something that's not COVID related, it's like, weight lifted off shoulders straight away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to address it on some level. I mean, it's not something that we can obviously just sweep under the rug and go, oh, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
I think it's good to acknowledge it, but obviously you do want to have content that is more uplifting and maintaining that level of engagement with your audience.
Yeah. And have you seen, or like what? Yes, in COVID, but zooming out a little bit, we're trying to give like business owners and marketers useful information for when they eventually return to like post-COVID life. Have you got any opinions or any thoughts on paid strategies, like paid ads on social versus organic content? Because one of the challenges, because I obviously sit in like the client service team, so I do the meetings and things with clients. And one of the challenges we often see is clients will have like content they'll be putting content out that's not adding a massive amount of value necessarily, and they want to get really high engagement rates on that content, which is so hard to do now organically.
Yeah.
And then you've also got like the business outcome. What is the business outcome you're even trying to achieve out of that? And I'm interested to see if you've got any thoughts on organic versus paid, or do they work together? Are they totally separate?
Yeah, I definitely think it's good to have a balance of both. Obviously, you're not going to get that same level of reach through organic. So it is beneficial to invest in paid campaigns so that you can, I guess, work around those algorithms that Instagram and Facebook have in place. So with your paid campaigns, you are going to be getting wider reach, and you're going to be getting seen by people who wouldn't normally see your brand or your content through organic socials. So while yes, you have to pay for it, it's not free, but I think it is definitely beneficial to have both if you're wanting to get that level of engagement, if you're wanting to generate leads, if you're wanting to convert consumers and get people sort of onto your website. I think it's beneficial, and obviously still have organic going in the background where I guess you're building your brand reputation and having that day-to-day engagement with your followers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've gotten to a point, I feel like, between yourself, myself, the team here, it seems like everything digitally is getting more and more intermeshed and intertwined. And I think we talk a lot with clients about all of the channels and all of the verticals. It might be organic, might be paid, might be SEO, might be SEM, might be AdWords, might be Facebook, whatever. But then if you silo it back down to even just Facebook or just Instagram or just LinkedIn or just Twitter or just YouTube, even those individual channels have different elements at play inside them.
Yeah.
And you do need to take a holistic approach to all of those channels. Otherwise you're leaving money on the table, essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously each business, they're probably going to want to use a different channel based on what their end goal is. And generally speaking, it's not always the case, but if you're wanting to share industry insights and be informative and I guess speak to other professionals, you're probably best to move your strategy towards LinkedIn and less so on Facebook and Instagram. But if you're wanting to I guess be a little bit more informal, not necessarily the right word, but if you're wanting to kind of have a bit more humor, or share videos and get people to your website, then generally you're better with Facebook or Instagram. But every business is different, and I think depending on the business, sometimes you might have some presence on Facebook and more on LinkedIn, or you might have an equal share, you might have more on Instagram, but obviously that comes down to the individual business and I guess what the end goal is.
Yeah, I was going to say, like a lot of businesses talk to us about, should we be on LinkedIn? What should we do in that space? So on and so forth. You don't have I guess it really is a case by case basis. There's no hard and fast rule about only do this or only do that. The only thing I often talk about is don't spread yourself too thin. You're better to do a few things and do it really well than to dabble in a little bit of everything and not do. You'll get no return there.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think, I would generally say, for a retail store selling teenage clothing, for example, I would say it would be a waste of time to be on LinkedIn. For one, your audience is not going to be searching for clothing products through LinkedIn. But then, for an accounting firm or a financial agency, you're better off being on LinkedIn, where you're going to get seen by other professionals and by people, I guess, who may actually be looking for that interaction through LinkedIn. It does depend. There's no hard and fast rule, but generally speaking, you are better to focus on one or two channels max to really push your reach in those areas.
Yeah. And do you have any tips for businesses who are trying to goose more engagement out of their content, particularly their organic content? Are there any secrets left in the book, or is it really you just have to pay?
There are a few secrets, but I guess a lot of it comes down to trial and error.
Yeah.
There are a few different ways where, if you're posting too much, for example, and basically you're just bombarding your audience with content that they're sort of getting a bit bored of, then generally you'd say, okay, we're going to post less. If you're not posting enough, we'll post a bit more to try and boost engagement, or perhaps, instead of posting via the social feed, we'll do an Instagram story or a Facebook story, and basically just test what channel works best with your audience. Or perhaps it's doing a competition or something like that, which, yes, ultimately you are paying for that at the end if you're giving away a product, but we have seen it work really well with some of our clients, where if people are liking and sharing and commenting on a post to win a product, then you're getting a high level of engagement in return for what could be a fairly minimal expense to the business. So but as I said earlier, I think it does come down to, if your goal is to boost engagement, boost leads, you really do have to invest in paid campaigns at the end of the day.
Yep. And in terms of how you go about, I guess, getting a business to dip their toe in the social water. And I know businesses are already doing social, but getting them to dip their toe in the water more than just having a page and posting a photo here and there. Is there a particular is there a time frame they should operate in? Is there a frequency of posts or pieces of content, a channel selection? Is there anything that a business should use, or any framework they should use as a first step towards something more robust from a commercial return on investment point of view, or is it more of a trial and error situation? Because like you said, every business is quite different.
Yeah, it is a bit of trial and error because it depends on your audience.
Yeah.
But having said that, I think even when you're starting out, you probably, if you're going to do social media, obviously you want to try and do it well. So I think you would aim for doing at least 2 to 3 posts per week.
Yep.
Per channel. So say if you're doing Facebook and Instagram, and that can simply be sharing that content to the other platform. It doesn't mean it has to be a completely different post. But I think to sort of get recognized, you have to be on there at least 2 to 3 times a week. But the reason for that is also because if you're posting any less than that, it's really hard to get any analytics or data as to when your audience are going to be online and when they're going to be the most engaged.
Yeah.
So the more you're posting, I guess, the more you're able to see a pattern of behaviors, which could be, okay, well, your audience is, the majority of your audience are men and they are online between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. And then I guess you can use that to then inform your content down the track. And I guess the problem with starting out in social media is that you really don't have enough information to begin with to guide that content creation to begin with. So you do have to be patient, and you have to give it, I would say, at least 2 to 3 months to start seeing even the slightest kind of shift in engagement, because it does take that long to start to know your audience and to start to know those behaviors, so that you can then schedule content for the right time to the right people. And yeah, so I guess in summary, 2 to 5 times a week. And yeah, hopefully in time you'll be able to adjust that as to what data you get back about your audience.
Cool. Awesome. I think that's probably it for me. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add at all?
I don't think so. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, no, I think that's...
My list is empty. I've gone through the whole list.
Yeah. I didn't give you enough questions.
Nah, that's good. That's good. All right. Thank you so much, Harriet. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.